All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us here today. We've got a super exciting session, so be ready. I won't take up too much of your time because we've got some really excellent speakers today. But just a couple reminders before we get started. This is being recorded, so please be aware of that. Anything you say in chat, we will have access to, and hold all of your questions till the end. I will be able to pull them from chat and from the Q&A section if you can't wait to ask it, but we will get to all of the questions at the end. Have fun with this. This is great information. We've got a lot of great people here, so be ready, be excited. This will be really, really fun. We really want to hear from everybody today. So introducing the Detox Store. If you don't have any Detox swag, this is your chance to get some Detox swag. We got water bottles, socks, notebooks. 4 lucky participants will be able, once they fill out the survey, to get this information. It will be awesome. So be ready, be fun. We really want your feedback. Just a quick reminder, we do have 3 more webinars coming up over the next couple weeks. So we've got VDI tomorrow. If you haven't registered for that, that link will be in the chat here in a moment. We've got Dell accessories, so a chance of CP taking a look at it on April 9th, and then modernizing the workforce in the AI era on April 16th. So a lot coming your way. Be ready. It will be fun. But without further ado, I know no one's here to listen to me talk. So let me introduce Jordan, the General Manager of Worldwide Education Device Sales at Microsoft, and Claire Saddington, the Dell Technologies Services Strategic Partnerships Business Development for the Western US. Without further ado, Jordan, take it away. But while you're getting set up, I'm going to ask the audience a question. If you could please put it in chat, that would be greatly appreciated. And that question is, do you have cloud identity in place today? Think about it. Simple yes or no. If you do, we want to hear it. If you don't, you're at the right session to start getting your wheels turning on it. Awesome. Jordan, without further ado,
Great.
Up to you.
Right on. Thanks so much, Jack. Well, hello, everyone. Again, my name is Jordan Christophides. I'm the GM of Worldwide Education Device Sales at Microsoft. Pleasure to be here today, and very, very much looking forward to this session. As I'm presenting in Teams, I'm not going to be able to see the chat, but Jack and team are going to help us capture any questions. So we'll have some time for Q&A at the end, and hopefully we can get all your questions answered. You can see my email alias on the screen. By all means, you're more than welcome to connect with me directly. And as well, that QR code on the bottom left will connect you to my LinkedIn profile. So if you want to connect there, please, by all means. Now, let me jump into the session here. You may or may not know Satya Nadella. He is our CEO. And at Microsoft, education and that entire segment plays a very special role. We have 3 areas of focus. We have a commercial business, we have a consumer business, and we have an education business. We believe that by building unique products, features, experiences, we have this ability to address customers in a way that otherwise wouldn't be possible. So we have a unique version of Windows. We have unique versions of M365 that are specifically tailored. And our ambition with this is really to open doors to students everywhere, regardless of whether they're in an urban setting or rural setting, regardless of whether they're in a developed or emerging market, or regardless of what their economic situation happens to be. And this really, at the heart, is what drives how we focus on education and where we put our development investments. Now, this slide, I call it the donut slide. The marketing team always gives me trouble for calling it the donut slide, but it really explains where we focus and why we put the investments in that we do. So let me start right at the top where it says accelerate learning. This is really about providing access to tools regardless of the student's capability or potentially their accessibility requirements. And so we try to really focus in this area on doing a couple things. First off, we want to make sure that we're providing real-time insights that help inform instruction of the teachers. The second is we provide coaching, and progress reviews with AI-powered tools. You may have heard of the learning accelerators. We're going to talk about those in greater detail. And then, not a surprise, students that feel better about coming to class and feel comfortable, have a trusting environment, learn better. And so we've developed a whole set of tools that foster well-being and give real-time feedback to teachers to be able to address that in the classroom setting or potentially outside the classroom setting. If you move down to the bottom right, improving efficiency is another big piece. We know that security and privacy is of the utmost importance in the education segment. We also know that it's the most attacked segment in the marketplace. And so the ability to recover really quickly, making sure that you're using your infrastructure in the most efficient way possible to both address security as well as updates is critically important. And so again, another area of focus for us. And then lastly, on the bottom left, preparing students for the future. The number one reason we see customers who potentially have moved to the Apple environment or to the Google environment come back to Windows and M365 and Office is because they're seeing that their students need these tools to be prepared for when they join the workforce or potentially go on to a higher education setting. And so again, in many of your institutions, you probably are running the back end using the Windows environment, M365, and the various Microsoft cloud tools like Azure. And we're seeing that students really need to have this in their background as well. Now, of course, all of this is really underneath this wrapper of being inclusively designed. And that means regardless of your capability as a student, this system should perform for you. Let me give you a really specific example. So in Windows 11, you may know that there's a color blindness tool. And so that for students that can't distinguish color, you have the ability to convert the screen to grayscale so that you can pick up the differences between reds and browns, etc. However, that historically was buried 5 clicks into settings. Well, if you can't see color, you'll never find your way there. And so in the latest version of Windows 11 Pro for Education, it's 1 click off the taskbar to be able to convert or get the color blindness tool enabled for the interface. And so that's an example of inclusive design, but it is throughout the entire system. Now, all of this is underpinned by simplified and secure IT. We know that Windows 11 is the most secure operating system. It's an area where Microsoft invests heavily in the commercial space, and within education, we take the benefit of that. There's a reason why the world's defense departments and largest financial institutions run on Windows 11. They don't run on Chrome OS and they don't run on iOS. And we really believe that we have an obligation to bring this most secure operating system to the education space as well. So we're here to talk about AI solutions in the classroom. I think it's really important to just level set. There's obviously fear in the marketplace that, oh my goodness, AI is going to replace my job. And I've probably had the opportunity to speak with over 100 customers one-to-one in the last 8 weeks, and in them I get answers or questions like, "Are you crazy for bringing AI into the classroom?" Or "What are you thinking?" I think the fact of the matter is that AI will play a role going forward, and I think we need to acknowledge this. I have some really great examples that I will take you through that we see both in North America as well as around the world, where AI is already making a tremendous difference in institutions and with educators. Now, if I look at the top left of this slide, we already estimate that greater than 50% of the teacher's role involves specialized skills, and those cannot be replaced by AI. However, we also see that 45% of the teacher's tasks can be enabled with greater productivity. And there are a couple truisms, right? We find that educators are often overworked. In countries like Japan, overtime is actually the greatest percentage of the budget within the education system. And so this is something that, by enabling greater productivity, we have an opportunity to address. We also hear that teachers are retiring at a faster rate than they're coming into the system, and as a result, we really need to be able to make those remaining teachers even more productive. And then, of course, lastly, there is an expectation from employers that students will have new skills and have the ability to utilize AI in whatever role that they are performing going forward. And so, these are critically important skills, and not only are institutions asking for them, but we think we have an ability here to address some really critical systemic issues around teacher workload, productivity, et cetera. A couple of other stats on the bottom of the slide. I think you can read them. What we've been finding is for every dollar organizations are investing in AI, they're realizing a return of 3.4. That's a fantastic number. I personally am using AI every day. Now it has just been a tremendous tool. I'm going to take you through some really specific classroom examples of how AI and the co-pilots can really make a difference. Now, let me just say that all of this is underpinned with Windows 11 Pro for Education, as well as Microsoft 365 for Education. For those of you who don't know, Windows 11 Pro for Education brings all the best of Windows 11 Pro, but it actually tailors the operating system for the education environment. It's a much simplified interface. There's some very specific pieces of the operating system that are optimized for entry-level devices. So students may not have a big core device. And so we want to make sure Windows is running as efficiently as possible. It also strips out some of those applications that you may not need in the classroom, like the Xbox app or the Weather Bug or Candy Crush, really making sure it's the slimmest operating system possible. One of the pieces of advice that I give systems administrators is, when you get a new Windows device for the classroom, particularly one that has Windows Pro for Education, do not start by wiping the device. All that goodness I just described gets thrown out the door and gets added back in when you reinstall Windows, unless you're using Windows Pro for Education. So my recommendation here is go with what was optimized for that education space. And then lastly, around Microsoft 365 for Education, we're going to show you how some of the co-pilots play here. I'm very, very excited and utilizing the ones with Teams and with Edge on a daily basis in my work. And I know that this has a tremendous impact in the classroom as well. So very often I'll get asked, how do I get started? Where are the, what's the lowest hanging fruit for getting benefit from AI within the classroom and the institution? And the first place I will point people is the learning accelerators. I'm going to talk a little bit more about those next. I want to just give you a quick overview here. But these are these AI-powered classroom tools that provide both assessment as well as coaching for students and ultimately helping teachers. Co-pilots. Co-pilots are exactly that. They're not the pilot, they're a co-pilot. They're there to help you utilize the best of the applications within Microsoft 365, Windows, and Bing. Today, the co-pilots for M365 are really aimed at ages 18 and over. The reason for that, frankly, is that there are rules around the world around student privacy, student data, and we're going through them in a very, very cautious way. There's a lot of help that we can provide teachers and administrators today with these co-pilots, and I would expect that over time we will bring that down to the age of 13, but we want to make sure we're doing so in a responsible and respectful way. And then lastly, Microsoft Entra. This is cloud identity. You probably knew this as Azure Active Directory. Cloud identity is really key and the linchpin here. None of this works or functions without cloud identity in place. And so I don't know if it's widely understood, but this really facilitates both the workflow as well as the data security that's required around both the learning accelerators, the co-pilots, and then any AI solutions that you happen to develop yourself. I'm going to talk about one AI solution later on beyond learning accelerators and copilots, but hopefully it will give you an idea of what's involved there and the kind of effort it will save you going forward. So let me start by jumping in to the learning accelerators. So learning accelerators, again, this is category of learning tools that are included with M365. Think about it this way. We have both coaches, which are specific for the student. They can use them in the classroom. They can use them at home. And then we have a progress tool that has the educator go through and do an assessment and provide customized feedback for the student. So again, we have a reading coach in progress. We have ones around math. We have presentation coaches. We have search coaches, because we know that search and research within the classroom is one of the primary things that students do. Again, these tools are included. They're free of charge. There's nothing else that exists of this quality within the marketplace, regardless of price. And again, it's part of the M365 tool suite. I'll tell you a story on this one on a personal level. My sister's a teacher, and she is in a school district in Canada, and she is specifically responsible for English as a second language. And so, you know, the reading coach is one of those great tools that allows the student to get feedback on how they're reading and where they can improve. The progress tool allows the teacher to do the assessment. It turns out that one of the greatest predictors of you being a good reader in your second language was, were you a good reader in your first language? And, you know, my sister said, great, I've got this progress tool, but I don't read Ukrainian. And so I can't tell how good a reader they are. And this assessment tool is not going to help me. Well, in fact, it will, because it supports over 100 languages. And so if the student's reading in Ukrainian, it will give the customized report to my sister in English. And then she has the ability to focus on the pieces of grammar or the components of the language where the student is having the most trouble. Her feedback is, in her 35,000 student district, they could not hope to do this assessment with the resources they have for all students once in a year. She said that they literally can do this within the day utilizing the reading progress tool. So again, very, very powerful and a real example. On the next slide, I actually have a short video. It's only a couple minutes long that really demonstrates reading coach. And so I want to share that with you, and then we'll jump back into the slides.
Hey, Jordan, there is no audio playing from a attendee standpoint for us. I don't know if it was during the share process, but would we want to stop and replay?
I'm not sure what I would do differently.
Okay.
Jack had kind of run that, so.
Okay. Well, everybody, this will be available on the Detox site, so
Okay.
you'll be able to watch this in real time.
Okay, sounds perfect. I can stop the video then. Oh. Right, apologies for that, folks, but again, we'll get the video to you, and hopefully you'll get a chance to have a look at that personally. All right, so from there, I'd like to jump into the copilots. Copilots, again, are AI-assisted tools that work with M365. They really allow you to work across the applications in a number of areas. First off, it's a really advanced natural language search. I'll show you a great example of that. I don't know about you, but I create so many documents. Very often it's difficult to find the one that I wanted. By describing it with real language as opposed to just a couple of search terms, it allows you to really quickly find that both what's on your device as well as what's in your institution network. Creating and generating content, summarizing pages, this is huge. For me, just as an example, I wrote a white paper for our executive team. It's about 20 pages long. I needed a 5-slide PowerPoint. Well, utilizing Copilot, I was able to summarize that 20 pages down to a 5-slide deck in probably 20 to 25 minutes. I would have spent a minimum of half a day doing that. And so again, very, very powerful tool. Taking action in natural language really makes a difference. Again, writing proposals, being able to say, tailor this more to an executive audience, clean up the language, etc. Allowing and then going and booking the meeting, all in natural language, again, a productivity boost. And then lastly, one of the things that you're going to start to see is that new devices will actually come enabled with a Copilot key right on the keyboard. And so while these devices haven't launched yet, this is work that we're doing with Dell. You'll see it on great Dell devices. A Copilot key will be natural on the keyboard where you'll be able to pull up that assistant very seamlessly. Now, you might ask why Microsoft Copilot? There's lots of assistants that are out there. I think there's a couple things that I would bear in mind. First off, certainly if you're following the news, that we work very closely with the folks at OpenAI, making available all of the intelligence within ChatGPT 4 and working with DALL-E to generate images. And I'll show you a little bit of that in just a few slides. The second piece is we're very, very transparent about sources. This is critically important. We want to make sure that the data here is accurate. And also we stand by that. And so again, there's an indemnity section within all of our end user license agreements that when you're utilizing the Copilots, you know that Microsoft stands behind you. We also don't have a cutoff in the knowledge. Of course, you can specify when you want to get what time periods and where you'd like to get that data from, but we always are looking at the most up-to-date and making sure that you're getting answers that have no limitations based on, say, hey, we only are providing data up to 2022, etc. And then lastly, Copilot doesn't save the prompts or the answers. You own that. That's critically important. We don't use it to train the AI model, etc. As you go and explore your AI environment and what you are going to do within your institutions, the one thing I would say is make sure you understand what's happening with your data. We know that there's other AI solutions out there. They do not make this promise that you own your data and that it doesn't go to train the overall AI model. We know, for example, when you use Google search in the classroom, that is going to train their models. And so it's critically important that you understand where that plays within your institution and how important that student privacy is. Now, I've got a couple of examples here. Again, this is a video. It's probably not going to play, so I'm going to just talk the way through it. In this particular case, a document's been sent out within the institution, which talks about how Copilots can help make you more productive, etc. The person who is receiving this wants to actually generate an email. Within the video, what you would actually see is how Copilot goes through this multi-page document, actually summarizes the key points and actions, and then drafts an email. Is the email perfect? Personally, I find it's about 90% perfect. There's stuff that I always want to tweak. I want to make sure it's put in my language. But the amount of time that it actually saves of going through something like this white paper really ends up helping in terms of productivity. All right, the next example is, in this particular case, finding local content. And when I mean local content, I mean it's on my physical device. So in this particular case, it's find a lesson plan on my computer for an English class. And then in this particular case, I can't remember the name of the document. But what Copilot will do is it will actually go and scan the document's content to find it. And you can see in the middle column on this slide, the result that comes back is Copilot is finding a document that's titled A Lesson Plan for a Freshman College English Class, authored by me. And so in that particular case, they know that, or the Copilot is highlighting, hey, I think this is what you found, and then it gives you a snapshot of that particular document that's actually editable within Word. So again, very, very powerful natural language search that again has Copilot going a level deeper than just searching the file name. This is where I find it gets very, very creative. So again, starting on the left hand of the slide, in a Windows 11 PC, you can enable Copilot by hitting Windows C. And coming soon, as I noted before, you're going to start to see a Copilot button on the keyboard. So two things I'm asking for, and again, this is a bit of prompt engineering. Number one, you've got a request for me to focus for the next 50 minutes. So that means no pop-ups, no notifications. I'm not taking any phone calls or Teams calls. This is really prompting focus for that period of time. The second prompt is draft a lesson plan on anemometers for a second grade science class. And again, it gives me some parameters, how would I like the conversation style, etc. And then on the far right, you can actually see the lesson plan. I've presented this to a number of teachers, and the feedback is this would have taken me certainly the better part of an hour and a half to 2 hours to put this together, to do the research, to create the instruction, as well as test questions that go along with this. So again, you can imagine as a teacher being able to craft these lessons, really drawing upon global knowledge of these sections and really utilizing Copilot to help put it together. Now, here's one where IT administrators have fed back to me as being critically important. District meeting minutes are typically public record. And in those particular meeting minutes, one of the things that you need to do is you need to redact personal data. How do we do that? Well, we photocopy the minutes, we blackline the personal data, we photocopy it again. If it's still readable, we blackline it again, photocopy it again, and then we send it out. That is not an efficient way to do it. And it is one of the largest time wasters within the IT department consistently. Within the snipping tool within Windows 11, there is an AI-driven redaction tool. And the thing that you can do is automatically redact personal information. And you can see the middle column what the original meeting minutes look like. On the right-hand side, the automatic redaction. This happens in seconds over an entire meeting. And again, a huge time saver for a real problem that we see within districts. Now, I talked about DALL-E and some of the great work that can happen here. We know that students are creating presentations, but we also want them to be respectful of intellectual property. Well, one of the easiest ways to be respectful is to actually create the image yourself. So utilizing the co-creator or the Copilot creator within Microsoft Paint, you can create an image showing the changing season of trees. And then you can make that image of changing seasons in the impressionist style. So you can see the power of the product. If you haven't had a chance to play with any of this image generation technology, it's really fascinating. And I recommend that you get hands-on with it because there's just incredible stuff that you can do in a classroom setting. Now, this is one that we utilize all the time at Microsoft, and that is getting a recap of a meeting. So in this particular case, we're starting a Teams meeting. The administrator of the meeting is starting the transcription. You have the opportunity to do it in whichever language you want, which is very, very powerful, particularly where you have students where English is a second language, or potentially they're trying to learn a new language. Imagine, I'm learning, I am an English speaker, but I'm learning Spanish. Very, very helpful to me to be able to get it in the language of my choice. But what's very, very powerful at the end of the meeting is summarize the meeting with key actions. And again, you can have actions on a specific topic. Give me all the actions related to the education business, or give me actions for Jordan specifically. Again, very, very powerful. This is also one where, we have people in our organization that I feel are chronically late coming to meetings. And you can give them a catch up on, hey, you missed the first 10 minutes. Here's what happened. And it happens all automatically. And again, this is very, very powerful, a huge, huge time saving, particularly if you're only interested in a specific section of a longer meeting. You can get the summary just of that section without having to listen to an entire recording. So those are a couple examples I want to share with you. We actually have greater than 65 of them specifically around how the co-pilots interact in the classroom. Now, we know that there's going to be more utilization than just that. The next examples that I'm going to give you are how you can use AI and your own information to solve common issues. We know scheduling is one of those things every year that just take an inordinate amount of time. Any of the administrative or repetitive tasks should be utilized or should be addressed utilizing AI in the classroom or in the institution. Resource management, scheduling buses, lunches, etc., and then communication. I've got a number of examples here around both back office, teacher support, as well as higher ed. One example I want to give you, I had the opportunity to meet with the CTO and CIO from the city of Sao Paulo. City of Sao Paulo has about 1 million students, about 200,000 teachers, and teachers and administrators. And one of the decisions they took is to utilize AI to do the marking of high school essays. Their current estimate is they are saving 2 million person hours per month of teacher marking time within just by utilizing the AI in that format. So again, those repetitive tasks, very, very powerful, really freeing up the teacher to do other things, potentially higher value things within the classroom. Now, I'm not going to go through every one of these slides in super detail, but I wanted to share with you a real example that was designed by the ex-CTO from New York City BOE, or DOE rather, and on redesigning the schedule for the year. So his big idea was if we adjusted a schedule to create more planning time for teachers, then there's going to be increased satisfaction for the teachers enrolled, and we'll be able to retain them. But again, as you know, prompt engineering is really the key value when you're driving any of these AI solutions. And so you have to decompose the idea. The better questions you ask, the better result you're going to get. And so if teachers have a minimum of 200 minutes of planning time, then they have time to collaborate and build expertise. When they develop expertise, they'll have even more planning time, and the teacher then able to scaffold, differentiate core content and enrichment. But this really kind of means that you're revising this prompt to get better and better. And you can see the original prompt was around redesigning the teaching and learning schedule so that we can meet the needs of staff and students. And by the end of it, we're getting to the point where we're creating a more fluid and flexible school schedule, which ultimately leads to greater job satisfaction. So we have to ask ourselves these questions, like what are the critical elements? How do you maximize fluidity? I'll point you to point 4 here, where really directing AI to act as a consultant, act as a teacher, act as an elementary school or act as an elementary school scheduler. These are the kinds of things that you really want to do because you're going to get a different answer. And so when you consider those things, it starts lining up a whole set of considerations. So what schools are we talking about? What grades? Are there non-negotiables like lunch and recess? Is there any specific teacher skill set that you're working towards? It's going to generate an example. It may or may not work. In this particular example, you can kind of see in the middle of this slide, there was a new schedule versus the traditional schedule. And it added a certain amount of time weekly for those key subjects like STEM that we talked about. But then there's other variable analysis that you need to be able to throw in. So for example, are there multi-grade classes, or do teachers have to perform professional development during the school day? These yes, no questions are critically important. And ultimately what you can see is this is the work that you would need to go through on an annual basis if you were designing this manually. Once you've set this up once within your system in the school utilizing AI, it becomes just a matter of inputs. What is the new school directory? What are the key courses that we need to go through? The rest of these parameters and rules remain the same. And so again, you can see where there's a lot of complexity that goes into the initial setup. The time from there, though, is ultimately given back. And again, there's a real-time example from New York City, and I'll happily share these slides with you so you can see the deep consideration that they went through. Now, one thing that I would advocate is that we've got a free course within Microsoft Learn. It's AI for Educators. Again, all this URL will be in the slide deck, and you can go out. I would really recommend that you spend some time here. The other piece too is take your time and understand prompt engineering. If you find me on LinkedIn, I think one of my certifications is in prompt engineering or introduction to prompt engineering. I really recommend that you go and take that course. It'll be the best 30 minutes you spend in the day if you haven't done it already. Now, as I'm seeing time is fleeting, I've only got a couple more slides. I wanted to say all of this is built on this platform of Windows 11 and management through Intune. Intune is our cloud management software. It both manages, deploys devices, as well as manages student access, etc. Again, critical Azure Active Directory or Entra is really required to get the benefit of all of this AI. If you haven't had a chance to see what Intune can do in the last couple of years, my recommendation is please go to Microsoft.com. Please engage with Dell and their services team, because they really have the ability to step you through the key benefits of the platform and the great simplicity and ease of use that has been incorporated. I will leave you here with just two more slides. The first one is if you're not aware, we actually have a education purchase program called Shape the Future for Windows 11 Pro for Education. It's the lowest legal price for Windows, and if you're looking at Windows for your institution, please talk to Dell about it. Again, it's built-in security, accessibility, and manageability are core to what we're bringing to market, particularly within the education space. Again, it's a unique version of Windows. So Windows Pro for Education, all the best of Windows 11 Pro, but again, tailored for that education space. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the next two slides. We've got some excellent studies on total cost of ownership, where customers have shown to us that Windows over Chrome and over iOS, over the normal lifespan of the device, is anywhere from 6 to 9% lower cost overall. And we know that budgets are tight and so critically important. And then similarly, we have a great TI report, this is a productivity report. So, do teachers see greater efficiency in the classroom? Are students more engaged? How much time does it give back, et cetera? So as you look to build potentially a business case to be able to upgrade hardware and upgrade operating system, these two studies would really support that. And then lastly, I just want to remind everyone that Windows 10 end of support is coming on October 14th, 2025. We will stop shipping security updates for Windows 10. Right around the corner, we will talk about extended support. We're not quite ready to do that yet, but I do want to encourage you, with all of the goodness around the Copilot's AI that Windows 11 provides, really considering a transition to Windows 11 and Copilots can bring tremendous productivity gains within the institution and within the classrooms. So with that, I'm going to say thank you. And Claire, I'm going to turn it over to you.
That's wonderful, Jordan. Thank you so much. I'm going to reshare here and bring up content for this morning. So I hope everybody took a lot of great information away from Jordan's presentation. There was a lot to unpack there, and even I learned a few things in there from an education standpoint in terms of the use cases. So my name is Claire Saddington. I'm with Dell Services, and I am one of the business development managers that are working specifically with education across North America. So I support the alliances very much so with Microsoft as a lead. And I'm also, my background is also Microsoft, so I've been on both sides of the camps helping our customers here. So I'm delighted to be here. And to follow on from Jordan's content and presentation this morning, I hope you're really excited around what AI can do in the classroom and within the school systems. We're seeing this daily at Dell through our services teams. Customers are excited. There's a big buzz out there, but they're also struggling to figure out how do we embark on that journey and what does that mean for both our teachers and our students. So I couldn't have asked Jordan to give me a better lead in, to be quite honest, in terms of where can Dell technologies help. And as educators, harnessing technology solutions really to aid in the delivery and experiential learning is key for both, teachers and students alike. And I'm only focusing on 3 key areas with you this morning. The secure and modern client device lifecycle management, and Jordan just teed me up beautifully around Windows 11 and Windows 11 Pro for education. The security, that's paramount, and we're seeing this day in, day out with our customers in education, K-12 and beyond, and then really helping them on that on-ramp journey to adopting AI. So I'm going to double click into each of these elements in the time that we have remaining. I've been with Dell a little under 3 years, and the chances are that you're probably buying your devices for your classrooms and for your teachers through Dell. And hopefully, if you're not, we'd love you to be, but if you are, thank you very much. You're probably also purchasing software through Dell, but many customers don't think about the services that Dell can really deliver to make that more streamlined in your organization. And we do that through an entire device lifecycle management. And we do it with Windows 11, and I've seen a significant uptick of Windows 11 adoption in the last 18 months. And, Jordan nailed it with the end of support coming up, but also, in the last, we're in 2024. We're in that typical life cycle of device, maintenance, where devices are now getting older, they need to be replaced because, quite frankly, when we were pushed to go into that remote work, hybrid work scenario in 2020, there was a scramble to buy and provision for devices that we hadn't seen before. So you just have this natural timeline where devices are aging. They may or may not support Windows 11, and customers like yourselves are looking to budget for what's next, right, and what that looks like. Dell can help you with that experience. And we're not just doing it from, hey, we've got some great devices for the classrooms and peripherals for the learning experience, but we're doing that in such a way that's, how can we help you ensure that you're ready to adopt Windows 11 in terms of what that's capable? And what are the elements around deploying that at scale and with automation. And so we see a lot of Intune and autopilot engagements with customers being able to maybe consolidate, because we all know budgets are a challenge, everybody, but maybe they're consolidating vendors. They've already invested in the Microsoft licensing stack, and they want to be able to take advantage of that automation. So we're doing things like Windows 11 pilots. We're doing, we turn on endpoint and analytics to help understand how much of your device needs to be refreshed and what that timeline can help with. We're establishing journey maps to help customers understand, hey, where are your gaps in their process, to help you automate and streamline that so you can be more efficient in managing this. So as educators, quite frankly, this is bread and butter for Dell, but this is stuff that you perhaps shouldn't be distracted with. You need to know that your device is working. It's got the most modern, secure OS. And you want to be focused on the experiential learning that you want to deliver in the classroom. So we do this day in, day out, and we're doing this with many, many school districts and school campuses. I was involved in one just recently in Canada, since Jordan's talking about it, where we had a rather large school district. They've got 11,000 devices that they're looking to refresh, and they just didn't know where to get started. So we helped them with a Windows 11 readiness assessment, and that helps them also identify Intune and autopilot to help them move away from a legacy system center configuration manager implementation. So they're really looking forward to that future. And this will help streamline your costs as you consider the consolidation and really maximize the ROI you've made in your Microsoft licensing investment. Windows 11, my inbox probably has 3 to 5 net new services opportunities for the teams that I support, let alone my broader team supports on a weekly basis. So this is definitely, we're seeing that inflection point really becoming hot, coming at us hard and fast. And then as you think about security, so you've got the most secure OS around Windows 11, and then you're coupling that with a modern provisioning deployment experience with Intune and autopilot. But you go through, the security capabilities, and some of the value that Dell services can bring is, quite frankly, a health check around your cybersecurity posture. I'd like to say that customers reach out to us on a more proactive basis to engage Dell services, but the reality is, especially in K-12 and even going into our higher ed education systems, we're often pulled in because of a result of a threat and a breach. We will bring boots on the ground and we will help resolve that. And we have an managed instant response and retainer solution. And quite frankly, regardless of the threat protection tools you already may have in place, the first thing we turn on is Microsoft Defender, because we're looking for that analytics to help solve for the immediate threat, mitigate that threat, solve for it, and then we actually have cyber recovery services. So unfortunately, as I mentioned, we do get pulled in on a reactive because something has happened, a breach has occurred, an attack has happened. However, we would much prefer to work with you on a proactive basis. We want to secure your classrooms. We want to help you secure the data. We want to help sure that experience across your campus is great. And we follow this whole zero trust framework attached to Microsoft. And that fundamentally starts with your cloud identity that Jordan mentioned at the beginning. And that starts with what you may have as Azure Active Directory, but Entra. And we can come in and help you do a health check around that. We can help you harden that with your roles and permissions and identity access management so that you're setting yourself up for success to take advantage of newer technologies and capabilities like Copilot. And we can take you through that maturity model all the way through to Defender for Cloud, Defender for Identity, Defender for Endpoint, all the way through a managed detection and response solution with managed Defender coupled with Microsoft Sentinel. And we have services in between with things such as vulnerability management and pen testing. So we can bring that whole world of cybersecurity and arm you with that. And because we are a top Microsoft Solutions partner and we are in the Microsoft Intelligence Solutions Association and a member of that, we don't just bring these services to you, but we have access to programs and resources because of the partnership with Microsoft. So we're part of a cybersecurity initiative program that we can help bring to you through assessments, through workshops, and then through professional services. And that is obviously an ongoing methodology that we adopt, that you can go from each level of securing your data, securing your identity, securing from threat protection, and then really through a managed services, and then repeating that cycle to ensure that you have the best experience for your teachers and campuses, and all the way through to the students in the classroom. So you now have your bedrock with an operating system and a device that's fit for your classroom and for your teacher and your faculty. You now have security in place, and you've got your cloud identity rock solid. So now you want to take advantage of technology solutions like Microsoft 365 Copilot, your digital assistant. I'm using this more and more on a daily basis personally. I'm not sure how many of you went to Microsoft Ignite back in October when Satya came out on stage and talked Copilot for GitHub, Copilot Studio, Copilot for M365, Copilot for Dynamics with services and sales, and Copilot for security just got announced to be released on April 1st. I was lucky enough to attend, and being busy, as I'm sure you all are, I had no time to write my profile for the networking connection for Microsoft Inspire. So I leveraged Copilot. Go out and help me capture my information, my bio, my LinkedIn profile, and pull together a quick summary for me so that I could drop it into my Microsoft Inspire network. I was 6% complete at the start of that exercise, and 15 minutes later, I was 96% complete. And that's just a very simple example how I started adopting using Copilot for my day-to-day tasks. When you think about it through the lens of education, it's really all about how to get started. And day in, day out, customers that I'm working with and talking with, and my services sellers are working with, saying, we love this, we're excited for it, but we don't know where to start. And the premise is we start small. Dell has enabled a framework to help customers, rather than think big and say, oh, this is something we have to move and we want to climb the mountain and want to get to top of Everest in like one giant leap. We go, no, we'll break it down to you in small sprints. We'll come to you with a 1-week engagement. We'll come to you and just spend an hour and a half with your teams and just whiteboard, just to get some of that brain trust thinking going about how will this be real in your organization and within your school district. So we'll start there, and we'll help you discover and do some validation about what M365 Copilot can look like for your teams, for your teachers, for your students. Maybe it's part of research that you might have in there. So it can depend upon, maybe it's in engineering. It could be in the math class. It could, we could think about the examples that you could bring to the table and generate that brainstorming. We'll go through the planning design. We'll help you figure out if you've got gaps in your security and data governance that need to be shored up. Some of you may be still running SharePoint 2016 and have data in OneDrive, and how does that look like? This is where Dell can really help. And then going back to the partnership, Dell was part of the early adopter program with Microsoft, along with about 600 other customers. So we went through that learning curve. And from that we've learned, so we've adopted Copilot internally at Dell. So that's our de facto AI digital assistant. But we're also part of the Jumpstart program with Microsoft. So we really are working with their engineering to help customers like yourself understand where to get started. And as I mentioned, we're doing this in small bites and sprints so we can help you mature on the journey, because quite frankly, this is all new for majority of customers out there, right? We're learning on this together. And lastly, before I wrap here and hand the floor back to Jack, I've just focused on 3 elements: core OS and streamline that productivity from the OS experience up. Taking advantage of the security bedrock, make sure that your cloud identity, and then growing the maturity curve of that above for your classrooms and for your campuses. And then really being able to figure out, now that I've got my my foundational set, how can I really embrace AI for education and learning? Because quite frankly, you know, the people in your classrooms are our potential captains of industry, entrepreneurs, and innovators of tomorrow. So we shouldn't shield them from this. We need to embrace this. And what you're seeing here on the slide is just showcasing across the portfolio and a sample of the services aligned to Microsoft that Dell has, whether you're focused on the modern work, which is where we, and security, where we've very much been focused today, but you may have, you know, Power BI applications or data that you're trying to harness and surface, and you want to be able to take advantage of that with AI, because AI is very data driven and you have to store data somewhere. So are you storing that in Azure or another hybrid type world that you want to be able to consolidate and take advantage of? So I'll leave you with this thought for this morning, where Dell can really help you, you know, get started and be creative about the potential of AI within the realm of education. We can come to the table with you to help you with assessments, whether that's for Windows 11, security, and M365 Copilot, or even Security Copilot when it's coming down the path, right? So you can couple those together. We see a tremendous amount of workshop engagements, which is also part of the programs that through our Dell partnership with Microsoft we have access to. So, you know, we do a lot of quick starts with our customers in terms of short soundbite 2-week engagements for Intune and Autopilot to help customers on-ramp with their deployments and their maturity. And we can come in and conduct proof of values and pilots where I'm seeing significant, especially around the readiness for Windows 11 wave to help adopt with that. So I would just encourage you to reach out to your Dell account team, whether that's the account team you're working with, purchasing your devices for your classrooms. If you're working it through our licensing teams, you know, for software for Microsoft and your A3 and your A5 and what that might look like with your renewals, or even your services team. Because of the partnership with Microsoft, we do have dedicated, focused individuals here at Dell that are not only focused on Microsoft, but they're aligned specifically to education. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your time. I hope you're excited about this new era of AI as I am, and I know the customers that Dell is servicing are as well. So Jack, I'll hand the floor back to you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Jordan. So we've come to the Q&A part. So if anybody has any questions for these two experts, please put them in the chat, put them in the Q&A. You've got a real unique opportunity to get your questions answered. So please ask away. This is what you're here for, right? Everybody's situation is a little bit different. So if you've got a question, this is your chance. But while we're waiting for questions to come in, I mean, Jordan, Claire, I learned a lot, so thank you for this. This was super beneficial for me on my end, just all of the different aspects of Copilot. I haven't done my fair share of research, so now I know a lot more. And I always love hearing about the relationship between Microsoft and Dell. It's just so cohesive and fantastic that it's just always nice to hear. So with that, we've got a couple minutes, so everybody, you know, get your questions in. It looks like Thomas is saying thank you. Christian's saying thank you. Tom said earlier thank you. So just a lot of great information. Do you two have any sort of final thoughts as we're waiting for questions to come in?
From my perspective, you know, it's been amazing to continue to partner with Dell. I mean, they are our top go-to-market partner, and the level of knowledge that Claire and team bring to really getting these solutions both tested as well as in place, it's invaluable. And so it's great to be able to share the stage, as it were. But more importantly, the partnership has just been years in development, and really ensures that success going forward. For the folks that are attending, again, thank you for your time and attention. If I can give any point of advice, is just take advantage of some of those free courses that are out there. We'll make sure that the Microsoft content gets provided by all means. And if you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to send them to me either directly or via LinkedIn.
Yeah, and everybody on the call, we will be sharing the LinkedIn of both Claire and Jordan, so that way you can get in contact with them if you have any questions after this call. The recording will be up by the end of the week on dtuck.com, so you'll be able to see that and pay attention to your emails for all of these great resources attached. But with that, we are right at time, so everybody can go eat lunch. I know, Jordan, it might be a little early for you since you're on the West Coast. But for all the East Coasters, go have some lunch. Everybody in Central Time Zone, it's time for lunch. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate everybody coming today. This has just been a great session. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.